Hello, everybody, and welcome in. We have today our co-host, which is Drew's Abandoned Paranormal Vlog. We have a special guest, and I'm gonna flip you two around here real quick. Okay, and we have our special guest, which is Neil Storey. He is an historian,
Whoa.
and Sherry from PWI, Spiritual Investigator, will be coming on with us shortly. So we are very excited to have Neil on our channel. Thanks to Drew for getting him on. Whoop whoop, as Drewy says, whoop whoop.
I just asked
So,
him and he's obliged.
yep.
Didn't you, Neil?
So, Drew, do you want to tell a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go to Neil, and then he can tell about himself.
Hello, everybody. You probably know me anyway. I'm Drew from Drew's Paranormal Vlog. I also am from Ghost Squad Scotland. We do a bit of everything, really. We do a bit of live streams, doing ghost hunting. We go to old castles, old cemeteries. We also go online and talk to cool people such as Neil. I have spoke to Neil twice now before, and it's always a pleasure to talk to him. He's an amazing guy, guys, and he also is an author as well. So check out all his stuff on Amazon. He's got all his books on there. There is a huge list, and I will give all the links to Mystical. I meant to do it, but I've been busy with Zach. I'll give Mystical all the links to put up on the description. So yeah, we've got Neil tonight, guys. Neil, are you still recovering in bed? Are you doing okay?
I'm just taking it easy every night, my darling. Doctor's orders, full and active day, getting out there and exercising because I've got the newest hip on the block.
Yes.
Two
So
months in, it's
you've
going
got
great.
to relax.
Do you have one of them little riding
But
things that you put like
of
one
an
leg on
evening,
and then you move yourself? Do you have one of those, Neil?
no, no. I have
You're
no
back
no
walking again, aren't you?
sticks have been involved.
Yeah.
I am walking. I
Good,
am
good.
truly blessed by all that is holy, and all of the modern wonders of medicine. I cannot
Yeah.
thank the surgical team, medical team, the nurses that have attended me for a long while afterwards as well. They come to your house, look after you, and
Hmm.
absolutely. Uh,
That's a good
I'll be
question then
contentious
for
in
our first
saying in
question.
Britain they don't pay them enough in
That's
Great Britain.
exactly it.
Those
I
they
think
Yeah.
as
are
well though,
wonderful
see if
people.
you've
So
got a good
yes,
nurse,
the
on you go, Neil, it's
you know
okay.
the I think the semi-robotic me now is feeling great. I'll have the other side done in good time, but yeah, I do everything absolutely as per doctor's orders. It does mean I get a chance to do lots of writing, which is great.
Good.
I've got so much research that I've done over the years. It's time to catch up on that. But yes, gently getting back and doing a few lectures here and there. And the other day, now I can't say too much about it,
Oh,
but I
don't
was
tell us the
filming again
secrets.
for one of it's Britain's most popular uh, ghost investigation show. A really wonderful team of people. It's a
Yeah.
series called "Help My House Is Haunted."
I'm glad you
It's a
said that. I
it's a
wanted everybody to
celebrity
know.
special, but I can't say who it is. But it's a brand new series. It'll be out on Discovery Plus, and then it will be out
Mm.
on terrestrial shortly after that. It will go around the world, and so I love the series because you can get to see some wonderful places, some incredible people that you get to meet, and some of the darkest history. And my
Well,
goodness,
Oh,
I can't say I've had to sign an NDA, but what I will say,
yes.
we discovered something during the course of the investigation, something that I'd never heard of, didn't know about,
Oh, good.
It's
You heard it here first,
quite
guys, on Mr.
exciting.
Clover Light. Good stuff, Neil.
Well, it's on Discovery Plus. Like, I don't have Discovery Plus. So in time, will it ever be switched over to like just a regular, like have like
Yeah,
be on like
yes, it
YouTube
will.
also at any time?
I will put it all on my personal website. I'll link you into it, and then you can share with your streaming channels
Mhm.
and everything else, and
Oh, that
reach
would be
out
cool.
to people there.
Yeah.
I want the series to do more in Scotland, to come and meet people
Yes,
like Drew
definitely.
and Chris up there one day, and the wonderful, if you've ever met him, Leonard Lowe. Oh, Leonard, what a
Yeah.
wonderful man.
Oh, I know.
Dedicated so
Yes.
much of
Yeah.
his life to
Hmm.
researching the women persecuted for and accused of
Welcome,
witchcraft.
Stephanie. Yeah.
Great guy.
Hmm.
Have we got a
Yeah, he's
Stephanie? Hello,
definitely good.
Yeah.
You have been to some amazing locations, though, Neil. I mean, some of the big houses and things that they get to go to, it must be amazing for yourself. It must also help with your research, because a
You're
lot of the
absolutely
places.
right.
Hmm.
I was I believe I was the very first person ever to organise ghost nights at Blickling Hall. Now, Blickling Hall in Norfolk is a National Trust property. And
Right.
some of the organisations that look after these properties can be a little bit sensitive, quite rightly, about
Yes, I
ghosts
don't blame them.
and ghost investigations. And the trouble is, the driveway and the grounds around there, on the anniversary of Queen Anne Boleyn's execution, the 19th of May, a phantom carriage carrying her, drawn by headless horses, driven by a headless horseman. She's got her head off.
Oh,
Its head is said to rattle around her lap, as her neck is a raw stump, and people are all around the area. And I said to them, look, if you've got to employ staff on this night, why not capitalize on that and get people to buy tickets, and we will do a ghost night. And at 12 midnight, when we say goodbye to everybody, we will stand on that driveway and we'll see what happens.
Wow.
So we did that for
exactly.
quite a lot of years. Quite a lot of years we did that. Wonderful. But they don't do small ticket events now, sadly. So
Right.
it was special. And I tell you, the most remarkable night in that hall was when I was giving my introduction, which gives a little bit of history about Blickling Hall and some of the people who lived there. The old Tudor mansion, where Anne Boleyn would have known, that's gone now. You can see its
Right.
footing was near the lake. But the
Right.
Jacobean Hall, where we were,
Welcome, Iron Fire Horse.
every time that I mentioned Blickling Hall or the Boleyn family, and I kid you not, the lights flickered.
Right.
Until eventually,
Oh.
when we were ready to start the presentation, the lights went out.
Really?
Oh, wow.
And I can assure you it was the real deal. People thought it was all a trick for the night.
Mm-hmm.
But they had, if you are in a trust property, you see, and something like that happens, they worry about electrics because they worry about things catching fire or
Sure.
anything else,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And it costs money to get out an
Right.
electrician. They called him out.
Yeah.
So I got to tell ghost stories. Thank goodness the moon was beaming in.
Amazing.
And I told through these are leaded windows, with all the
I
lovely
can imagine it
crisscross
right
of
now.
lead,
Mm-hmm.
and the moonlight streaming in. It was an unforgettable night in an amazing location, telling ghost stories. And I assure you,
Wow.
everybody there, even the most skeptical member of that audience, felt something. They felt
Goosebumps.
it was cold. It was goosebumps. I can feel it now down the bottom
Yeah.
of your back, where it gets you right in the kidneys. You sisters will know this, and many of the people watching
Yeah.
this show, you know it. You know
Yep.
when there are spirits around, and even if you try and deny it, you know it. You'll feel it because it's
Oh, yeah.
really deep down. And I'm not a medium. I don't profess to be a medium, but I like to think I try and be I care about what I'm researching. I like to tell
Yeah.
the truth of stories, and I hope that there's some empathy with what I'm doing there.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
definitely.
an incredible night.
I don't
Yeah.
know how you can remember everything on like historian kind of stuff. Stuff like
Me
that don't stick
too.
in my head. Spiritual
Well,
stuff now, like this stuff, sticks in my head. My husband says, I don't know how you remembered all of that. But being a historian, I mean, I couldn't remember stuff like that.
Yeah, no.
well,
You
at
must
the
have
risk of
proved some great facts, though. So if you, what's your best fact that you've ever proved? Like you've had the history book to say it, and then you've been on location, and the spirits have actually confirmed that it's in the
well,
history books.
number one, from mystical, how do I do it? Well, in the same way that you love what you do, and you love all your potions and your remedies, you'll know the books where to look them up, but a lot of it you carry in your mind and in your heart. It is my full-time job. I am a full-time historian. I lecture, I write. It is my life, and it has
Yeah,
been now, it's getting on for 30 years. And I've had an interest in the paranormal
Yeah.
really since I was a kid, since I first heard of Christopher Lee and Dracula, and it frightened the bejesus out of me.
yeah. I love doing
And
films. I feel good.
that's nearly 50 years ago. So
I
that is frightening where that time's gone. So that's that one. Now, Drew, my lovely, what was your question again, my darling? What did you ask?
If you've ever had anything that's proved your history books, have you ever had a spirit confirming it? Something you knew in your
Well,
book?
I've been very fortunate over the years to have a number of those instances. And one I will tell you in particular, and in fact, it's my first ever investigation. But one I'd like to relate, and it's one that people can watch. If you have a look, it's released on terrestrial TV now on various channels. If wherever you are in the world, if you look up where can I watch Help My House is Haunted, it's the recent series,
Hey,
recent
Hatchie,
released
Hatchie.
terrestrial series, and it was one of those really challenging cases that I'm often brought in for, which is a fairly modern house, a house that's built in the 1960s or 70s in a fairly modern setting. And it's released now. I can tell you, it was Peterborough for that one. Peterborough. It has got a wonderful cathedral. It's a historic town, but a lot of it is Victorian or more modern. I think this house was probably built in the 1970s, and it's on quite a big estate. Now, the father of the house, there was a mum and dad. I think there were two girls and one boy. They were having quite serious problems in that house.
Hey, Chris.
The dad was having to sleep with the kids because they were frightened.
Hmm.
Sleep in the same room. Dad's getting dragged out of the bed, and he's ending up with 3 scratches on his leg. This is scary, scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The children hear disturbance downstairs. You imagine this. This is your
Yeah.
home, your home, and you hear disturbance downstairs, and you go downstairs, and he knew what it would be because it had happened before, and he hadn't filmed it. This time he goes down with the camera with the kids. They've all been in the room with him, and every door in the kitchen, the cupboards, food cupboards, down level cupboards, the drawers, everything was open.
Ooh.
Nothing was moving around, but everything was open, and of course they're really frightened because no one's touching it. And and he says, "Why are you doing this?" And I was sent that because, and they put it in the show, but that's one of the things I was sent
Oops.
because he couldn't reason why.
Yeah.
If you're an ordinary person who doesn't get very much involved with the paranormal, and suddenly that confronts you and your children, now that's frightening.
Yeah, definitely.
The thing growled. It seemed very, very angry. A lot of anger going on there in what was a very happy, safe house, a loving house. The gentleman, the dad there, he worked for the ambulance service. He helps a lot of people a good man, a very kind man. And he had actually said to that spirit, "Leave those kids alone and take me."
Right.
And then it seemed to latch on. He contacted Help My House is Haunted, and we've got a wonderful, gifted medium and exorcist called Ian Lawman, and he did a
Yes.
walk around in the house. He knew nothing of what I'd found out, and I'll tell you what I found out. This was separate to Ian, and it's the earliest example of a ghost. This was early medieval. Okay.
Oh.
Now, off the top of my head, I think it was the 12th or the 13th century. This chronicle was written. It's a monastic. It's the Peterborough Chronicle.
Right.
It's like you see these wonderfully illuminated books, and they would document all the events of the day and the history that they knew of their part of the world, in floods and fires. Well, amongst that chronicle is an account of what they called the wild or demonic hunt.
Ooh.
And this is, it describes, now listen carefully, folks, they're described as black monks. Now, this does not relate in any way to ethnicity. It is not an ethnic black person. This is a demonic, black cowled monk, and they are a dark figure. Often you can't really see their face. Everything is, it's almost like they come from the fires of hell, and they are charred.
Wow.
They are evil. They are. So this is nothing to do with ethnicity. They were black monks riding, and they described mares, big, powerful, strong mare horses, and huge black goats.
Right.
And that's, of course, a very clear link to devil, demonology, and the demons that you'd see depicted in medieval pictures. Now, I wondered, when I researched the story, it's one of two things. The house was built near an old railway line and where the sidings were. And in the late 19th century, the sidings are there where they're sort of shunting the goods wagons on the railway.
Right.
And there is a known account, very, very close to where their home was, of a shunting accident, which is when these goods wagons are pushed together at the end of a day. And often after a long day on the railway, things got a little bit lax in those days. And a fella decided he would ride. I think he's going to couple it together. He couldn't be bothered to walk, so he's riding the buffers, which you shouldn't do. You know, the buffers squash together, so he's riding above them. The driver of the train sees him hop on the buffer rather than away and walk up in safety. He's hopped on the buffer, but then suddenly he sees the legs spin round, and the legs are in the air, and the goods track goes. His legs are on the line, and he's more or less crushed in two. So I wondered, is it the ghost of a railway man? Because one thing a railway man loves to do when he has a break is he goes to try and find a cup of tea. So maybe that's why all the doors are open, and it's quite an innocent explanation.
Could
that
be.
It's something like that.
Kleenex.
Could be. So we've got this ancient chronicle with a demonic hunt.
Yeah.
It ran across the countryside towards the cathedral at Peterborough, and that wild hunt would have actually passed over the site of where this house is built, where it stands now. When the investigation was carried out, so they don't know, I've spoken to one of the team on screen as the historian. She knows. The walkthrough with Ian Lawman is done separately. Then they come together for the night's investigation. And it turns out that the old railway man is there. His name came through. We knew his name when the accident was brought. And he was trying to protect the family. He was a wandering or lost ghost because he actually used to live a short distance from where the shunting yard was,
Right.
and he probably walked across the fields there. It's a beautiful place. You know, once upon a time, you know, through
Yeah.
old fields years ago and meadows.
Hmm.
So that's where
This is still
his
nice.
ghost, his spirit is around there. But what he was protecting the family from was a demon.
Right.
It's
Wow.
one
Right.
of the weirdest recordings that I've ever heard. Now you've all got your REM pods and various recording devices. The voice activated. I'd call it a dictaphone. What would you call those
Yeah, the little
nowadays?
recorders. Yeah, the voice
It's
recorders.
a little
Yeah.
recorder like a
Hmm.
dictaphone, and it
Yeah.
only reacts if you speak. You know,
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, voice activated.
this rec- that's the one, and
Yeah.
this one recorded. You didn't hear it, or you might have heard something, but it recorded a voice. It's the voice of a demon, and I've never heard this before or since. It was speaking backwards.
Oh wow.
It was
Oh.
it was chanting or
Keep
speaking
going, Neil, and
something.
remind me about that to mention something about you talking about it going backwards. Go ahead and finish, and then
Yeah, I mean,
remind me of that.
I will do. So it was speaking backwards, but luckily they managed to get the name of this demon,
Right.
and the demon was laid. And the old railway man, he decided that he'd done it. Now the demon had been laid, identified, and laid, and
Yeah.
it was it's so intense, so dark, because it was feeding off
Yeah.
the energy of the children, of the father, and it was a very quick exorcism. They had to smudge,
Yeah.
we know that, and everything was very, very safely done. But once they got that name, it was sent on its way, and the house is now peaceful, more
As happy
peaceful
as
than
ever.
ever, and it's just a
Yeah.
loving family living
Wow.
in peace
Yeah.
in their home.
That's
So
amazing that you
mystical
got that.
voices speaking backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Oh, it's
and
the Help My House is Haunted team. Incredible.
and I don't even think. Welcome in, Sherry. I don't even think that Drew is aware of this. When you are doing an investigation and you're recording like what's going on, and say like on your necrophonic or your spirit talker, when they talk to you, when something comes across it later, if you put that back on your computer and play it in reverse, it's a whole message on there that they're trying to tell you. And the thing is when you reverse it, the message isn't scribbled like if you would talk backwards and it would be like all like a different language. No,
Yeah.
it's the same language, plain and clear, and it comes out a totally different message.
That's weird you say that, because I've often
Yes.
wondered, because it does sound backwards sometimes. Weird. I'll need to do that with some of my footage.
Yeah, I'm not tech savvy to know how to do that yet, but it will do that because I've been looking into it. And sometimes they'll say
Yeah.
like a word here, a word here, a word here, and when you play it backwards, it's like a whole sentence that goes together, but yet it's not jarbled, it's plain.
Right. Wow.
It's really weird. Welcome, Sherry.
Hello.
So,
Hello.
Hi, Sherry.
so Neil, when you go to these places, even like on the Help My House is Haunted, when you go in and if it, the things that happen that's really bad that's going on, do you ever, like after the fact, after the screen goes off, if you're able to say, are you able to call in like a demonologist or anything to come in, like after the?
Well, it's always dealt with within the show, because I'm the historian, and I'm one of a number of guest historians who appears on the show. I've been in for a number of series now, but they like to have a different historian per episode. But I do help with background research. In fact, there's quite a team of us who all do that because we want to make the best show and as accurate and as honest as possible. None of us, we don't make things up. It's not. Sometimes you have to make an educated guess at a reason why, but I personally like to have a newspaper article, a manuscript, something of age that gives a reason why for this haunting. And no, the team are so gifted in their own ways. They are the ones who enter the properties. I will occasionally spend a day with them, but they are scrupulous in that they don't want to know anything too much until they've actually carried out the investigation. Or Jane Harris, she's the sort of she's the paranormal investigator as part of the regular team. She will know some of it as well, but not it's scrupulous in that things are not fed to Ian Lawman, and he, as I say, he's very, very gifted and a very kind man. Totally, he's great empathy with all that he does, and we have called within the show upon expert demonologists, and so everything is properly handled if necessary. There's nothing, to my knowledge, and I haven't been involved in every investigation, but to my knowledge, there's nothing behind the scenes. You will see. I mean, it's a lot. They'll be filming 2 or 3 days, but everything is edited beautifully and very, as I say, very honest. There's good integrity.
Yeah. Wow,
I think that's the trouble. That if you don't have integrity. Sorry, Donny.
I said I like your program that Help My House has made. That's really good.
I do. I'm proud to be associated with it because I think with so many of these shows, integrity is so important. And yet sometimes there will be things that will make you jump and make the team jump, but they're not running around the place screaming all the time.
But when they jump and they get startled and it catches them off guard, that's what makes it so real, that people can see that it's just not made up stuff.
I know.
Yeah. I tell
absolutely.
From the untrue.
Yeah, I tell my team, if something scares you and you go off screaming, I guarantee you I'm going to have the camera on you as you're running off screaming.
I've been made jump. I think it's a human condition that everybody can be made jump. My good friend Dave Schrader has a great T-shirt. It says, "Don't frighten me, I poop easy." And
good one.
and I agree. Although I don't have that T-shirt, don't make me jump. But if it's spirits and stuff.
On that note, Drew, I'm good.
All right, okay, I forgot about that whole instance. Yeah,
still winning. Well, that is a reason. If people are really, really honest, that's why ghost hunters wear black jeans.
Well, there's a reason we don't wear white.
I'm just putting that one out there.
I'm always in my camouflage. I try to camouflage everything. I live in camouflage clothes most of the time.
Well, I wear black all the time, but it's not because I poop myself, believe me.
I'm glad you cleared that up, Sherry. But
Sherry, do you have any questions for Neil?
I was going to ask, because obviously you're a historian and stuff, I was going to ask, have you ever actually physically been part of the investigations in the programme? Like, have you ever just put down your history for a day and gone, okay, I want to actually experience this as well as to giving you the history? Have you actually gone out with the team, and what did you have?
I've certainly had a look around some of the properties over the years. But and even some of the people that own the properties have stayed in touch, and that's lovely. But no, the discipline is quite clear that the team, they do the investigation. Mind you, it doesn't mean I don't do investigations, because I do of my own. And first of all,
Right.
I know Sherry is a private person, and I hope she won't mind me saying we've got a lot of good people out there with a lot of good hearts.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
we love you.
I know you've been having a tough time, and you'd never ask for this. And I'm not going to go in any business because I don't know, but I think it would be nice for everybody watching just send a little bit of love to Sherry at this time. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you. They have actually been doing that, because I am going through a pretty tough time at the minute. I'm going through a family death.
Yeah, it's a
I've
continuous
had two
thing,
in a matter
Senate.
of 2 months, and they're both very close to me. So I've been finding it really difficult. And I've had a lot of support from my guys, my sisters on here, and my people in the chat. They're very, very amazing people. That's why I love my community so much. So I'm getting
Keep
there
strong,
slowly.
darling.
We've got you. Chris.
Yeah,
And
We've
that's
got you.
that's
Keep
nice
strong,
of you,
think,
Neil,
Robbie.
to
and I appreciate you saying that. That's very, very. I'm very grateful for that.
yeah,
Thank
that's very nice.
I know you wouldn't ask, darling,
No.
but I don't want to make any. Let's keep that love going. Right, but investigations. Now,
Definitely.
you've asked me, has anything ever been proved? Now, this is a bit of a story. It's my first ever investigation. Now, I apologise if some of the people listening have heard me tell this tale before, because I didn't tell it for many years. It's when I was at college. There's a few of us, and if I'm really honest, this is the late 1980s. It's before you were born, Sherry. And it's
It's the year that I was born. Well, not 1980 and 1984.
How come you didn't say that about me, Neil?
Hey, look, I'm just trying to boost people up here. We're kindred
Us
spirits.
old people need boosting too, by the way.
you
Not
have
just the
wonderful
young ones.
Don't you start.
Oh,
Don't you start. Look, I've got a vibe going on here. I've got a kind vibe.
You
We
go
want
in
to
the jar,
focus
Chris will
kindness
tell ya.
now and again.
In a jar.
I'm not going to dig. I'm not going to. Anyway,
yeah.
it's the late 80s. I suppose you'd have been about. It was
Welcome,
about
Christina.
1988. So you'd
So
have
I'd
been
have been 4 years old.
There we are.
Yeah.
When you, yeah.
I have a son that age.
Yeah, time flies. But the memory of this was it was the first serious investigation, really. Some friends that I was, well, they weren't friends. They were nice girls. They were trainee beauticians, hairdressers, dressmakers. They were doing a sort of fashion course, all sorts, the full works. Get all the experience to work in the world of creativity. And one of the girls came and saw. I was just in the library, and I have to admit, I was delving into some of the witchcraft books that very few people looked at. And she said, "You're part of that ghost hunting group, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, all right. Don't take the mickey." Yeah, we'd go to castles or ruins, and just chill out for a night. And in those days, the equipment that we had was borrowed. In those days, if you wanted to film it, you couldn't use a phone. Well, if somebody said there's a camera on a phone, I think you were joking. A mobile phone, no, we didn't know what that was. A mobile phone would probably require a lead or a battery that's so enormous you'd have to hoik it around. This was ludicrous days, right? So if you want to film it, you've got a camera it's the size of a suitcase with a lens on it, and you'd put a cassette in the side that's about the size of half a brick, and then you push it in with a clunk, buttons on top, ding dang dong. Greetings, Master. My goodness, I wonder what happened to Hulk Hogan. Nice to see you.
Hulk Hogan. He said, "I wonder what happened to Hulk Hogan."
I'm the Macho Man.
I'm not going to argue with that. Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Lee.
You're stretched
Mr. Lee,
figure,
I
isn't it?
call him Mr. Lee.
Look at that. I'm liking that. Anyway, look. So
Sorry.
this girl said, no, it's nice. So they're having a bit of bother that their place is haunted. And I thought, come on, girls, you're messing about. I said, no, genuine. And it's a little terraced house. They've got lots of Victorian terraces in Great Yarmouth. Not, and
Yeah, beautiful.
they were renting it because they were at college in the town. The parents rented it for them. And if they had a boyfriend round of the night time, one of the girls slept downstairs, the other one slept upstairs. It was the one that slept downstairs in what we'd call the front room. That's where the bother was. There was a window that faced out to the road, and you'd get a bit of a glow off the street lamps in those days. Do you remember that kind of stuff going on?
Hey.
Oh yeah, we're hardly any lighting.
You got it. And street lamps in Great Britain at that
Yeah.
time were orange.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Crazy.
They weren't really that great for lights, were they? Like back in
No,
the day, especially
no.
like coming home from school, you'd be running from school, to like. To
Yeah.
your
Like
house.
those lights remind me of the Ripper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
they were a little
definitely.
bit like the gas lamps, yeah, but these are tall ones on
Yeah.
sort of an L shape. Anyway, there's a bit of a glow during the night, and can you imagine? You're waking up, you got your boyfriends with you, and you'd felt that somebody had been watching you. And then when you wake up, you've got the curtains with the glow behind them. There's a figure that looks, and she said it was like somebody in a cloak, and she said they looked like a monk. No features, just the outline, this black outline of a monk there. And the moment she kind of saw it, it melted into the curtains. But it was darker than dark. It was almost, she couldn't believe what she'd seen. And in fact, during the week when her friend would be in the room with her, it's just kind of a put me up bed that they were on. They put that away. It turns into a sofa, and you could watch TV. They'd be watching TV, and in the sitting room behind the sort of dining area behind them, because they knocked through these old cottages. So you have like what was the front room and the dining room. It's now knocked through. It's one big room. So on the sofa watching the telly, and they think there's something behind. They keep looking for the night times. If something goes behind them, walks. Can you imagine that? Just catching something at the corner of your eye.
I do that every single night.
Just not quite catching it.
It's stuff's just standing
Needs
there in my
well
room
there.
coming in, so I'm used to it. I remember
get
as a kid growing up, it used to terrify me.
But
So I
they'd
can
be
imagine
scared.
how they must feel. Yeah.
That's terrifying, Sherry.
Yeah.
Are you safely in control of these?
Yeah.
These
Yeah,
spirits?
but I've been like this since I was 5 years old, so I've kind of learned to adapt to it, and I know like my shield on and shield off. I know they know, like I have with most of my spirits, we have an understanding of when to come and talk to me and that. And if they do turn up on a time when I'm not wanted, they normally know that they've done wrong, because they normally get grumpy, Sherry, going, "Why have you woke me up when I'm trying to sleep?" Oops, sorry.
Wow.
But, yeah, no, like I'm used to it all the time. Like obviously as a kid I used to be really scared of it, and it used to run every time I'd see a spirit. But as I got older and I lost people I loved and learned, it doesn't faze me like that anymore.
That's quite a gift you've got there.
When you
I don't
see
think-
things when you're at a very young age, you don't know that it's something you should be scared of, because it's something you grew up with. It's something normal and natural. You think everybody has that gift and can see things.
Well, at first I did. I like, because at first I was really scared of it. Like, I never used to like going to bed. I never used to like going upstairs and then going to the toilet like in the middle of the night, because where the toilet was, there was all the bedrooms, and you had the stairs that would come up with like a balcony, little bit that you hold onto to come up. And I just always remember running from my bedroom to the toilet, because without fail there would always be this one guy that would always show up, and he had half of his face missing, and I used to get really petrified of it. And I'd run in the bathroom, and he always used to kick my bathroom door open, not to scare me, it's because of the way that I would react. And in the end I got used to him, because my aunt passed away and I had my nana and people like that, so they were like, don't be scared of what you see. There's still people, and that, you know, he can't help that he's like that. Don't look at him like that. And I've learned to do that now. Like if I get somebody that's quite badly injured and is still showing that, I won't sit there and be like, oh my god, look, I've got so used to that now. I
Yeah.
see that there's still that person and that
Yeah.
energy. You know what I mean? So don't look at me differently.
That's
But
brave.
I used to be petrified of it. I'd be running and across the landing, hide
Yeah, I
under my
bet.
quilt, screaming. Used to do all sorts of things. But as you get
These
older,
girls,
you learn to adapt to it. So
they this was off the scale for these girls because they had never
Yeah, I bet.
encountered a ghost, or they'd been.
yeah, that
I
would be
suppose
creepy.
that they were in their late teens, and that they didn't really have a lot of interest in
Yeah.
ghosts. So I think there weren't a lot of ghost shows on TV at the time. So
Yeah.
what do you know of ghosts?
In the 80s, there
Ghostbusters.
weren't really anything. The only thing I ever really remember in the 80s was that program in the UK called The Strange and
The
the
kids
Unknown.
one.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah, and they
Swan
had
like
the
that.
kids.
and
The
they used to
kids
do
one
about
that was.
UFOs and spirits and all
Yeah.
sorts of things. But
And
Yeah.
Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World when I was a kid. That was the big one for
Yeah,
us.
that type of thing. Yeah.
And
You could imagine they were
really,
just young girls wanting to go to college.
well,
it
you
would be
know,
scary.
Just
It would be
weird.
scary because I remember
it
when
was
I was young.
really scary.
And
So
if you've
Yeah.
never experienced anything as well before, and then you're suddenly getting that in your own home, yeah, I could imagine it was, especially if it was a monk-looking guy just
Yeah.
appearing on your curtain and
Yeah,
that. Like,
it was
what?
dark. They felt it was sinister.
Mm.
It wasn't. It did. There was anyway. It didn't want them there, or what? It felt very forbidding.
I'm afraid not all monks are good, though, are they? That you got your monks that walk
Well,
around in their brown cloaks and that, and they've got the bald head. They're not. There's some of them are all right, but then you have got darker ones that come in different coloured
yes,
clothing, like dark
Yeah,
black.
for sure.
Yeah.
absolutely right. And what happened was we went to investigate it. It was within the chime hours of the early hours of the morning. We had the big old clunky video. We had an electronic thermometer. We had a standard mercury thermometer. One or two of the area controls, things like a cotton stretched across the room in case we saw anything. A little bit of talc on the old kitchen floor to see if we get any footprints. All from the, Usborne Guide to Ghost Hunting, if I'm really honest. But what was really odd is that the temperature suddenly dropped and everything cut out. It was really odd. The film camera, everything cut, but it was only in that room, in that front room area. It was one of those little houses where you had front room, dining room, kitchen, bathroom. It kind of all ran in one line. And you could see and hear the fridge freezer was still buzzing away. There's nothing wrong with that. And the weirdest thing was that the power supply, without anybody switching anything on and off, slowly came back on again. It was almost like someone's got a dimmer switch on and off. It was weird. And I've not seen it. I've seen lights flicker and go like a flickering, but this one came back on. It was almost like something trying to say, look what I can do. I'm here, look what I can do.
Yeah.
So it drained the power of it, and then it put the power back in.
Yeah. But then because very little was battery operated in the equipment in those days, you had to go plug it into a power source. And the mercury thermometer that was electric.
Go find a plug socket.
Absolutely. So come the morning, and we'd been a good night. We've got a little bit of kit in turns, and come the morning, we'd loaded our equipment and sleeping bags and stuff outside, and the door's on one of those kind of Yale locks. Do you know the sort that you have to give it a good old pull and it bang closed? And we shut the door like that.
The snap locks.
You've got it. Everybody is out. All right. So we've gone out the door, out the hallway, out the front door, bang. Then we hear on the inside, boom, and we thought, oh, what's happened? And there's no one in the house. So we wondered. They had a dressmaker's mannequin that was adjustable, and we thought that it's got a bit of a dicky base. Maybe that's fallen over and hit the door. So just went in to just pick it up or whatever, because it was in the downstairs room. And we could immediately see it's not being touched. A friend of mine went upstairs to investigate if there was anybody, larking about or anything. Nothing upstairs. But I went in that downstairs room, and it felt like there was a row going on. It was dreadful, dreadful, dreadful atmosphere. Really dreadful. And I looked around the room, and I couldn't see anything out of place. But as I turned to leave, the doors in these terraced houses that are converted for, or they're restored kind of for rental purposes, they often have these kind of a plywood door that's got almost like cardboard in the middle of it. Do you know what I mean? Like a hollow door. Do you know the sort I mean?
If your foot would go through it. Yeah.
Typical 80s.
You've got
yes, I get it.
Typical 80s. And this door is flat against the wall. But I don't know why. I just thought I'm going to look just behind the door. It's flat. The handle's on the wall. I can even see now the Artex sort of decoration on the wall. You remember the old Artex stuff? And I just pull a hand and I just look behind the door.
Yeah, my mum and dad had it everywhere.
You got it. In the back of that door was a pair of dressmaking scissors. Bang. Ooh. Stabbed into the door.
Dang.
Yeah, no, that would be
Wow.
something I wouldn't like in an investigation. Like I said, I don't scare easily, but if I see like an instrument, like a knife or something,
Welcome,
sticking out of
Danny.
smoke or something like that, I'd get a little bit cautious, definitely. Yeah.
Welcome, Paranormal Search.
It was the most dramatic moment I've probably ever seen as a demonstration of the existence of what I could only explain as the paranormal in the truest sense of the word. It's not normal that happens with nobody in the house. There's no trickery.
Mm-hmm.
There's no thought of it happening, no anticipation of it. There's been no joking around. It's surreal when you are because if you are in a haunted house and you see a ghost, there is part of you that has anticipated that as a paranormal researcher, or what we used to call ghost hunters.
Yes.
You're ready for it.
Yeah.
I was inexperienced, very young in the scheme of things, but there's no way I was expecting that. If I ever thought, I mean, in my big book of ghosts, how does
it's a threat, really.
A poltergeist throws crockery around, moves chairs, moves tables, not sticks a very large pair of dressmaking shears in the door.
Yeah, that'll throw you for a loop.
Yeah, that's like I said, I don't scare easily, but if that happened, I think I'd be a bit weird. I'd feel really funny about going back in for the investigation as well, knowing that got chucked, you know what I mean? So I'd be right on my guard and things like that. Because
well, the girls didn't
can't
go
explain
home.
that.
I would need to get to the bottom of why they feel threatened.
They didn't go back in again.
You can't explain that.
It's a strange
one. That happened with no one there.
They went and stayed with friends, and their parents, in daylight, got their things out, and they just went.
Because if that can happen, just like what can happen to you if they, instead of the door, it was you.
Well, exactly. But apparently the landlord was very understanding, didn't demand any sort of loss of
damages.
Nothing. No, they just said
probably knew then
there
was something there.
So I don't know whether they knew that it was haunted or not. But here's the kind of full circle. I was doing some work experience in those days for the local museums in Great Yarmouth, and they were doing an exhibition about the old monasteries. Now, Great Yarmouth is an ancient town, and there were a number of monasteries and monastic buildings around Great Yarmouth. And what we did was, in those days, the graphics were not brilliant. You kind of had to do, when you used to have an overhead projector, you used to get these clear plastic sheets. You could print something on that. You could put it on top of a map, and that's your overlay. So the scale's not bad, but it's not as good as you can do now. But we were doing overlays on maps to show where the monasteries were and where the buildings are now, over to. And it must have been a good year later that we were doing this. And it suddenly occurred to me when I was looking at the overlay, one of the monastic graveyards is underneath where that row of terraced houses was built.
There you go. Wow. Sorry, guys. Mike's coming in and out there. I could keep hearing a voice. Mike, my camera's coming in and out. I don't know if you can see it, but I keep disappearing and I keep hearing a voice.
No, you're not disappearing off ours.
I can hear somebody talking at the minute.
You're not disappearing, though. You're there. My co-host is still here.
Yeah, I've seen you all the time.
The only thing I hear is the banging that Lee's doing out there in his man cave out there in his he shed.
In his WrestleMania shed.
Yeah, he's building me another table for my garden because I got to get those tubs up off the ground because the slugs keep trying to get in them.
Oh, no.
He's my table maker. So Neil, is there anything you could tell us about UFOs?
Well, that's my latest research project. Is looking at UFOs, UAP, and what I'm looking at is from the British point of view, because there's been an awful lot, quite rightly, in America over the years, but Britain has quite a heritage of UFOs too.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do is kind of push things back before what I'd call the golden age from 1947 and the Roswell crash that you'd know in America, and your golden discs that were seen in the sky that gave their name from a description to become flying saucers. That's great, but I wanted to push back. Now, I know in America, the American West, in the 1890s, strange airships were seen above the American West.
Right.
I know, and this is not a new discovery entirely by me, but in 1909, in Great Britain, a policeman was on duty in Peterborough. That's an interesting thing when you think about the demonic ride that used to go across there.
Yeah,
Policeman was on duty in Peterborough. PC Kettle was his name. He was on his beat and he heard
My name.
He heard a sound it sounded like an engine, like a motor car. And when he went round the corner onto Cromwell Road, there was nothing there. But he could still hear the sound. And it's very early in the morning. The sun's just about starting to peak up. And he what on earth is that? And he looks up. Now remember, in 1909, Blériot had not flown the Channel. Apart from the odd balloon that had gone up on Balloon Ascents, nothing's, unless it's a bird, has flown over Great Britain. Nothing. Supposedly, anyway.
Yeah.
I like the way he says bird. The bird.
Like a bird. And he looks up, and this thing is massive. 200 yards long in the sky. And it's whizzing along at quite some speed over his head. What do you make of? I mean, for goodness sake, what would you do? So it's got a light on one end, and it's travelling at quite some speed. It traverses the area.
Back there.
So he reports it to his sergeant, as you had to do when you're on your beat. Look, I've seen this. And the sergeant says, all right. And it gets to the newspaper, the local newspaper, the Peterborough Citizen. And this account, and it goes viral, as you might call it by nowadays. Lots of newspapers from all over Great Britain repeat the story.
Yeah.
Then a spokesman comes forward, supposedly from the police. He's not named, but he claims, oh no, PC Kettle was mistaken, and that it was in fact a kite with a Chinese lantern attached with a candle inside it.
Those Chinese lanterns are
whirring
totally
noise.
different looking.
The whirring noise was the cooperative bakery,
Especially in the 80s.
I'm not being funny. You get some really ridiculous reasons to why they say something. Like you've had like weather balloons and birds with shiny backsides have got like what birds a bum goes that shiny that it's going to look metal. You know what I mean? Like, I'd love to see that.
That's
you know what I mean? Like,
and that's way back in.
You get really some crazy stories, don't you?
Yeah. And the other thing is, why would anybody fly a blooming kite that early in the morning?
Right.
That story just appears in the press as if it's, that's killed it. Nothing more is said as far as that one goes. But, now I'm not the first to do this. Other people have looked into this through May 1909. So in the months afterwards, I tell you, I've done a lot of research into Zeppelins over the years. Germany was developing Zeppelins. Officially, they didn't have any that could achieve the range to get over Great Britain. Right. When I wrote a book on the anniversary of the first Zeppelin raids on Great Britain that took place on the 19th of January 1915, on the 100th anniversary, I produced a book for that. And I thought, I've got in touch with Bundesarchive. I've looked at archives in America. I've looked at Royal Air Force Museum archives in the UK, our national archives. The reports from those times, the debriefs of Zeppelin aircrew, the memoirs of Zeppelin aircrew. Not one of them said, oh, well, actually, before the First World War, we flew reconnaissance flights over Great Britain to take a look. No, not one single account. Now, P.C. Kettle's family, who contacted me after a talk I gave in Peterborough, say he swore that it was not a lantern. He swore that was. In those days, you didn't have a word for UFO. You didn't know what it was. It was an object in the sky that flew over at quite some rate.
So they called it an unidentified flying object.
Well, Neil, I caught to interrupt you really quick because I'm going to show you this. I caught a picture of an identified flying object. It looks, the shape of it looks like a stingray, but it's using the clouds to camouflage itself. I got the picture here. I outlined it in red so you could, I don't know if you, let me see.
I'm just getting glare at the moment, Ruby.
Hold up. I'm trying to cover.
The problem to see.
Right.
Oh.
Wait.
Caught something a little minute ago. It just looks like a light a minute.
Because it's like
it's
right
very bright.
in there.
I'll have to take your word for that, Mystical.
Yeah, you need to
I'm going to do this and see if that shoots.
No, it just looks like an
I'll send
you
I was trying to turn it. Oh, you're not going to be able to see it.
Yeah, nice the glare.
You can't see it.
Well, why don't you tell us
about it?
So, how did you see it?
We were standing out on the porch, me and Lee, and I was like, look, there's I did not use the word UFO. I said, look, there's a UFO, and Lee's like, I see it, and I said, it's gray, it's camouflaging itself behind the clouds. The clouds is gray, but it was behind it, but it was a different color gray, so you can see it. And just like a stingray, like the back of it is long, and then it goes up with, its deal goes up, and then it kind of comes up just like this, just like a stingray. You can see it. So it comes down like this, and then out, and then and then back.
How
And
was it flying? Did it just move steadily across the sky?
it was just behind the clouds, and it wasn't even moving at that moment. It was just almost still. We watched it for a good while, until it's like it started, the gray that you could see it started to blend in, almost like a chameleon does. It blends in with the background. Then it
So do you
started to
think this was
blend
an
in.
organic object in the sky, or do you think it was a man-made object using a cloaking device?
It could be in either one, but I wish you'd been able to see it, but you can't.
Or you
I'm
can always
still trying to like.
send me via Facebook.
Send it to
So
me and I'll
Okay,
yeah,
that would be
I'll send it off
nice.
Neil.
That
okay,
would be
because I'm
nice.
trying to even see if I turned it sideways. Yeah, I'll send it to Drew and see
Yeah.
if Drew can get it.
Have you, Sherry? Have you encountered any UFOs
Yeah,
over
I'll
the
send
years
it to Neil and
personally?
I'll see it.
You're asking me if I'm actually an experiencer and abducting. I've actually had something happen to me.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Are you willing
I
to
actually
share?
I have
Yeah.
like this round device thing that's in my chest here and one that's in my arm. That I really
Whoa!
got from when I had the take. I've had it actually happen to me quite regularly, where I was taken and stuff like that recently.
Wow!
I'll explain it a little bit to you. So my first ever encounter with a UFO, which I did not realise was anything to do with a UFO, was a green spirit that I came across. Very tall, very humanoid looking, very light blonde hair, and not quite of this world, and had a jumpsuit. But I put that down to being a spirit at the time because I wasn't really looking into the UFO side, even though I believed it was a spirit. It had the most greenest aura light around it I'd ever seen in my life. And
What were
I
the
remember being in
faces?
my
Was the face humanoid, Sherry?
yes, very humanoid, but the eyes were bigger than our eyes, slightly bigger, so you could tell it wasn't human.
Yes.
The eye size and the mouth and things like that. And
There's a reason why I ask. With the features, would you say they were human-like?
yeah, they were very human-like, but they were a lot more. I don't know how to put it. Like like they've got very beautiful feet. It had a very beautiful feature. Like everything was just in place. It wasn't like what you would look at a human and see a human. Like everything was just very pronounced.
Yeah.
And the hair.
The hair was the hair quite well kept and maybe even.
Yes, it was. It was like it was almost like the hair was white, almost, and it was very long, and it was a male.
What's really interesting?
Clear, because you've
One
got
of the sightings.
the Pleiadians. Because I'll explain to you why this went on. So I remember seeing him.
Sherry, one of the early sightings in Great Britain from the 1950s. I think it's 50s or early 60s.
Yeah.
It's over in a place called Ranton. Ranton's Middle England way. I wasn't expecting to talk about this tonight. I've got more details about it. There was a woman out with the children were in the back garden. I think she was getting the washing in, or playing with the kids in the back garden after they came home from school. And she looked above her house. You know, you go out, greet your kids, or just to get your washing in. And on top of her home was a hovering UFO.
Yeah.
Inside it were two humanoid entities, and the description of them is so similar to what you've described
there's a lot of
tonight,
different sort of forms of them as well, because like when you hear like these different names of the extraterrestrials, they don't really like being called aliens. They like to be called ETs or extraterrestrial. But when you hear of these, like the Pleiadians, for instance, are a human race. They're like a human race, but they're obviously extraterrestrial. Now there's quite a few different types of them. Like the features may be slightly different, the hair color may be slightly different, eye color, like that they change as like the further in their planet they go around. So obviously they're known to come from the Seven Sisters. Okay, and I remember seeing them standing in the road and I was in the car with my ex-partner, and we're driving. Now he sees him as we're approaching it, and with the energy goes through the car. We drive through it, yeah, because he couldn't stop the car in time. And then as we go past it, he could no longer see this energy anymore. Only I
What
could
were
see it.
you feeling? You've just
I
passed this.
was in shock because
That's off
I've
the
always
scale.
seen lights. I've always seen lights in the sky, and I've always seemed to have lights that follow me. And I have always had this oncurring dream where there was white lights at my back door, and I would disappear into the light quite regularly. That was how it first started. Then I had this encounter with this energy, and then there was one night I'd gone to see my brother and my friend in Sheffield, and one of my friends come and picked me up in their car, and that's when I had the encounter with the UFO and was taken. We come to this junction with a roundabout, and it's really late at night, and there's no cars about, and we're sitting at this junction, and we see this object coming across the field. Now, obviously, my mate is really like sketchy about anything like this. He doesn't like anything paranormal, anything. It creeps him out and everything. And he's seeing this object coming over, and we're sitting in the car,
Is it
and we're
spherical,
obviously in awe.
or is it?
We're seeing
It's
this
a big
object
orb.
coming,
Yeah.
and we're like, it comes up above the car, and it's this triangular shape, and it's got this triangle thing moving underneath it, just spinning, and it's got the most quietest whirring sound. And you could only hear it when we slightly open the window. Then we put it back up, and he tapped the leg, and he goes, "What the hell's that?" I said,
Welcome,
"I think you know
Dobby.
what that is. It's an object that you can't explain. That's not from this world. It was not from this world." And remember just sitting there, and then the light just went so white it blinded us. We could not see anything. We don't remember going inside the UFO. We don't remember seeing the extraterrestrial at that time. All we remember is seeing the object over the car, the light come in, and we went. And then when we come back round, we'd moved from the road bit that we was at, and we'd gone half a mile down the road. This object had moved us down the road, and we'd lost 2 hours of time.
Wow.
And I have
That's
had
huge.
oncurring experiences since then. I have been taken. I have seen planets that I am part of. I do speak
Wow.
in
Has
their
he
language.
had
I
this
can communicate with them and speak.
experiences since?
Probably
Wow.
is your
I
star
do have
seed.
that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm known as a star seed. I'm Pleiadian and Lyran. I have two.
Yeah.
Wow.
Neil
So
Cherry.
at what point did you discover that you have been implanted with these discs?
Well, I'd always wondered where it comes. So obviously I'd had this experience, and these objects had come into my chest and in my arm. But it wasn't until I'd actually come and when I was part of a community that knew more about UFOs that they were starting to say about implants. And I was like, hang on a minute, like they go, has anyone ever noticed weird objects in their body that's just come up after having these experiences? And obviously I said, yeah, I've got one in my chest and I've got one in my arm. Now, as time's gone on, they have informed me and let me know that the implants were put in different areas so it doesn't affect anything within the body, and it's a way of them being able to keep tabs on me. And that's how I also came to learn that I was a starseed, that I was actually of them, and I was here. I chose to come here to help humankind, so I had to become human to do that.
Wow.
I know it sounds mad because I couldn't get my head around it either, but I've had these experiences and stuff.
Is your mother aware of that then, or did you not know your mum when you were growing up? Have you?
Well, this was a lot later in life. Obviously, when I used to see the lights and things like that, I was a lot younger. So I didn't really ever speak about it. I just used to say I see lights in the sky. My mum would put it down to being aeroplanes and stuff. It was a lot later in life when I had my experience, with the UFO and see the spirit. It was about 6 or 7 years ago that I actually see the spirit.
So do you think your mother was impregnated by an alien to produce you, or have you taken over a human form?
It doesn't necessarily happen like that. Now, when you come in, when you hear of starseeds and stuff, these can be extraterrestrial beings that are living in another world, and they decide that they want to come here and they want to do something here. So then they're given the form of being human. So
they can also be reincarnated into you.
Yeah, that's what I was coming to. They can be reincarnated into a human baby. So when we become impregnated, when my mum become impregnated, obviously she was impregnated by my dad that's down here, but there would have been an influence with the ETs that wouldn't have been known. possibly. So
When
like
you were in
a
the womb,
DNA or something that was,
when you were in
Like a
your
human
mother's
soul.
womb.
yeah,
Your soul.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I've had really weird experiences. I have actually had. I know this sounds really crazy and stuff like that, and I know that people have questioned this, but I really don't care what people think. I know it's real, and I've even had the experience of where I've actually my belly went like I was pregnant. I could feel something moving, and I had these beings come and remove. I remember seeing myself in the UFO, and then removing the baby from me. Not the way
Sherry,
that
that's
a human person would
huge.
be, but like having something removed. I've had that happen several times. I've even seen what is meant to be my extraterrestrial children, like, and it wasn't done by me having sexual intercourse with them. They were able to implant that into me. I was chosen as a carrier because of my links.
See,
Yeah.
Lee was taken
Yeah.
too, and when he came back, he
Huge.
had an implant on his
Right,
You
to
arm.
can
help
have them in all
problems
sorts of
with
places.
you.
You can have them in your arms, in your
Mhm.
chest. You can have them in your leg, in your neck. It's
Who
wherever they
has
choose
it?
to do them. Yeah.
Wow.
And I've never,
Bruce,
like,
Serious
until I
stuff.
got on to where I went and I met the people I met, I never ever spoke about it because I was always worried about what other people would think. Because explaining the paranormal was a little bit more easier than explaining an extraterrestrial and a UFO. You know what I mean? You're gonna,
Yes.
you're not really gonna get like men in black coming after you over a spirit, are you? But I've always
Yeah.
been really worried about people trying to get me because of my experiences. I'm not here to get no limelight. I'm not here to be the best person in the world. I've had this experience. I believe in
Yeah.
extraterrestrial. I know they exist. That's, you know.
well,
I
see,
think that's
and
courageous, though, Sherry, to
yeah,
You
be
I
look
so
started
truth.
to,
frank about it.
yeah, I
You look
started to
truth in
say
that,
that
son.
because this, yeah, the trouble is people don't say it what happens to them. They keep it quiet, and then when somebody does come forward, it's all like
Yeah.
taboo and everything.
Yeah, well,
Nobody's
that's what I've
talking
had.
about
That's
it.
what I've had the problem with this because I did put myself out there with my experience, and then it was all put over YouTube and made out that I wasn't quite right in the head and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And that really hurt me because that was somebody I really trusted in.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
Well,
thought, hang
that's
on, a minute, I told you all of that story, and then you're going around and you're planting that out, and you're making me feel crappy when
but
we should be able to feel confident to be able to talk
yeah.
about our
You
experience.
should.
So many
You
people are
should.
scared about doing this.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean,
how is that
yeah.
person qualified to judge
Yeah.
you
But that's
Exactly.
my argument.
in
I'm
that
not going
way?
to say names in that
No, you
because I know
don't
that
need
most
to.
people know these
That's
people.
not
But
important.
you know, like it really hurt me because these people helped me through my experience. They actually helped me to open up more to what had happened to me. I
Kicking the
started to
teeth again.
understand my story. I started to understand that I'd had later experiences when I was younger that I didn't even know because they have extraterrestrials have a tendency to be able to wipe your mind and stop you from remembering certain things until they feel it's vital for you to understand. So that's what happened to me. So
At my time of life, I don't need
yeah.
aliens to help me forget. I can tell you.
Yeah, but when I was
Don't need
young,
any
I think
help.
that's how they looked at it. Because I was young, they
Good.
didn't. That would have been too much. But because I've come into the paranormal field and because I'm very acceptance to all that, they felt it's time. It's time she knows, and
Wow.
But
they
it's only
started to
now
Wow.
you're
release me.
able to talk about it as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, like I'd be really
It's
open to
hard to
talking
talk
about
about these
extraterrestrial.
things.
Now I'm a little bit skeptical about doing it because of how I've been treated over it. So even though I still communicate with them and that,
Yeah.
I put it at bay. I won't do it on lives and that because I don't like the way people's attitudes are towards me. I know what happened to me and I know it's real. Okay, so I keep it to
Yeah.
myself and I'll speak to them privately. But
Exactly.
you know, I am starting to get to that stage again now where I'm
Keep the
thinking
information
I
gathered.
can still sit on my channel and talk about star seeds because you've got star seeds, rainbow children, crystal
Yes.
children. They're all
Yeah.
linked to extraterrestrial.
Now, here's a funny thing,
Hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's described as a folk tale, not
Mm-hmm.
far from you, Sherry. And we're both East Anglians. I'm a Norfolk man. You're not too far away
And I'm
from there.
southern.
In Suffolk, there's a little village called Woolpit.
Yeah.
And when you go back again, this is a medieval story. There were two children, young children. They were known as the Green Children of Woolpit. That's what they become known as. They turned up in the village. They were only kids, no parents, all on their own. They couldn't speak the language of local people. They were green, in their bodies were green. Now, I think the little boy didn't live much longer in that environment, but the little girl grew to maturity and the green faded. And she could never
Yeah,
explain.
she came into the way of the humankind, and that
Yeah.
and it does happen. There has been known that some of them have been put here. They haven't been
Yeah.
birthed by English people or human people. Some of them have been
Yeah.
put here. There are still extraterrestrials that live within this world now that people wouldn't
I
be aware
don't
of.
doubt
They're
that.
disguising and they're
Yes.
camouflaging and that.
A lot in power.
A lot of power, but they're
Yeah.
very real. They're very real, and people
Yeah.
do have experiences. And I think that people should be able to open and speak openly about it and not be judged. It's
I
not an
agree.
easy thing to talk about. It's not
Yeah.
at all.
I think you've shown a lot of courage there, Sherry.
Yeah.
I'm really honoured that you shared that with us tonight as well.
And it's good that
Neil-
I've actually spoke to you about it, because I was really, I wasn't going to speak about it on the internet
We all
ever
know
again
it
after
already.
that. But
You've
because
done
you
your
came on, and
story.
it's really made me feel good to come out and speak about it again, because my story has never changed in the whole time that I've spoke about it. It's
Yeah.
never changed. The only thing is,
Mhm.
She
I've
just has to be
remembered
more
things.
guarded now with who she shares
Yeah,
it with.
I just
That's
remember more
what has to
things.
happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just hope
Oh.
that the people seeing this treat this as a mature forum, and they respect
They
what you've
do.
had to say.
Yeah.
Like that.
I don't really
think
care what
that's
they think. I
important.
don't care if they don't like what I'm saying. I've got my people that believe in me. I've got my people that know that I'm telling the truth, and that's all that matters.
Yep.
Like, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm that sort of person. You can have your opinion, but keep it behind closed doors. You don't need to air it out for everybody to see it and make that person feel
Yes.
bad. It's not.
Have
bad.
you
And it's
tried
because what happened to your children?
a meditation, Sherry, where you've tried to communicate through
Yes.
meditation?
Yeah, we actually have special toning. Like, there was a company that I used to be part of that I used to use some of their tones. I stopped using them when I left, and I've got my own tones that I found from the internet, and they're tones that are specifically used to be able to communicate with ETs and to
Wow.
make UFOs and stuff form. So I'll be in my meditation state. I may have a bit of my meditation music on, but I'll have the tone going over the top of it, and I go into that. It's just like going with the spirit. It's just a lot more different, because it's so much more electrical and static, because they're not dead, they're living. So it's
Yes.
a completely different feeling to a spirit.
Do you find that you communicate in an alien language when you are in
Yes.
trance?
I do.
Yes.
When I go into try, because 9 times out of 10 I will try to record any time that I have conversation with these. There has actually been EVPs and that I'd showed on shows where I'd recorded it, and you could actually, I'm speaking in the language there, they're talking, and you could hear them replying back to me. You could hear them speaking to me in a language and telling me to don't worry, you know that you're my daughter and I'm looking over you. Just saying things like that, but in their language, and I'm speaking back. But when you come out of that phrase and someone asks you to speak it, it's like you don't know how to speak it. It's only when you're in that moment with them.
Yes.
So that's why I record it. Yes, some things I can, if they come through and they
I have
partially
seen this in
take
action.
me over,
Yeah.
then I'm still with it. So I will speak partially to them in their language. But when I'm fully gone, I don't remember what I'm saying. It's after, because that's why I record it.
You've got a lot of drawings and things that you've drew in meditation, haven't you?
Because I go through visions and stuff like that. So sometimes they would turn up in my music when I was doing my meditation, and they would show me what I was linked to. Now, I'm supposed to be what would be classed as a royal up there. I'm supposed to be something that's quite high, and I was an educator as well. And I've got these. I don't know if I can get it out.
While she's doing that, Neil, Drew sent that picture to your email.
No, to the
I shall
messenger.
have a look, and we shall discuss
what?
another time.
Yeah.
What?
Because
Yes,
I think
messenger, I
UFOs have got some. We've
Yeah.
got some chatting to be done tonight. How much longer of our show have we got, my darling?
However long you want.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
We're easy. We're just not cheap.
You are just bad sisters. Very naughty. Leading an English historian astray. I would expect nothing less from you.
I'll just put a pillow here and listen to you talk all night.
Oh, bless you, darling. Well, while Sherry's
Tell stories all night long.
Yeah.
well, there are so many stories to tell and to share, but everything that Sherry has shared with us,
Yeah, that's
she's
it.
not the first person I've encountered with stories like this. I think everybody has their encounters are
Yeah.
personal.
I've been
But
trying to
don't-
get Lee to talk about his, but he won't.
Oh,
There's that much
I'm
stigma,
really
I
trying.
think.
I mean, he
behind
can
it all.
remember being on. He can remember being on the ship and everything. He can remember some details.
I mean, there's a
It's
certain
hard for
story
people
from
to talk about
up
it.
here in Northumberland. There was this guy. He was a sentry on a base not far from New Biggin, and it was a radar base. It was top secret. So if an enemy aircraft came along, he wasn't meant to shoot at it because it kind of guide them that there was something going on there. He was just patrolling the area. Only if you
Bye,
immediately
Danny.
encountered somebody trying to raid the property were you allowed to, threaten the use of the firearm. He claims that he was looking out across the bay and up into the night sky, and he saw something between the clouds. Only momentarily. The next thing he knew, this thing was coming down towards him at quite some speed. He sensed that he dropped his rifle and passed out. The next thing he knew, he was in some form of spacecraft traveling across the sea at speed. That's just about all he could remember. Then he remembered something of traveling back, whether it was on some sort of tractor beam or going back, and he came to, just a few feet away from where he collapsed and dropped his rifle first of all, but he wasn't on the spot. He had
That's quite
travelled.
common, that though, isn't it? That they don't actually get you back on that spot sometimes.
Yeah. But that was during World War II.
Right.
And he kept quiet about that for years and years and years afterwards, but he was always very, very vehemently earnest about what he saw. And up here, along the River Tyne, there were instances of along the River Tyne, they built battleships, they built merchant vessels. It was a key. Only the Clyde was a bigger shipbuilding area in Great Britain.
Right.
So it had to be protected with anti-aircraft guns and what they call barrage balloons, which look a bit like a small Zeppelin. They're silver, but there's no passenger car on them. They're shaped like a balloon with a tail on it, really big. And if there's enemy aircraft, they're filled with gas. Up they go, and they are suspended on wire ropes. Have you ever seen them? They're quite big.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Like that. And it's multi-strands of thin wire, just like a real rope, but it's wire, so it's really strong. And they'd go duk, 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 and these things would go up into the air, and no aircraft could go near them because either the balloon would explode, or they would hit these wires. Of course, they would ruin your aircraft.
Yeah.
Well, about 80-90% of the crews operating the barrage balloons on the Tyne were women. They were members of the Women's Auxiliary Air Force.
Yeah.
They were reporting a white object the size of an Austin 10 car that was seen to dive at them. Now they wondered, was it some sort of bomb? Is it what is it? Is it a crashing aircraft? Is it part of an aircraft? But these things seemed to be under some sort of control, that they did not go in one direction, and they would zip off at quite some speed. And if they contacted the wires of the barrage, and they just burnt through them.
Whoa.
And this was the problem. And if they kind of got into contact with it, it might send a sort of and the barrage balloon would burst into flames, or they might just burn through one of the ropes, so it's just on one suspension, and they've got to bring the balloon down really quickly. This was reported to the Royal Air Force. I've seen the official reports that these girls were, because they kept copies, and some of them even diarised them, and the RAF more or less dismissed it, say, oh, well, just silly women.
Wow. There you go.
World War II.
Wow.
Sherry, have you had some success?
Did you find
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Well done.
So these are what I'm going to show you are all images that I've seen through visions and through visits and stuff. Okay. So the first one is like a colour wormhole that I see as we were going through something.
Oh wow.
The
So this is what you see. Is it a tunnel?
Yeah, it's a tunnel, and it's what the ship was going through.
Like a Stargate?
vortex.
Yeah. And then I asked them to like give me some detail on who I am. Like not tell me everything, but help me to understand who I am.
Can
I know
ask
that
quickly,
my
did you have to
name is
travel far to
Shaharlan.
get there?
My ET name is Shaharlan.
Okay.
Okay. Now, these were the things that they were showing me. That this is a royalty thing to do with them.
Okay.
And then you've got your hand bits that they would wear, and the head gear.
That's interesting.
What
And
are
then
we seeing now,
weird,
Sherry?
like planet signs and things that were linked to what I was seeing. And then obviously I do a lot of writing about it as well. Any experience I had, I would write down and say what I was seeing. So I've got lots of this is all what stuff that I've seen and I've been through. And then I started getting symbols. So I started getting weird symbols that they were showing me.
The circle that the way that it goes as spiral is like a portal.
Yeah.
It is like it's like a doorway, and then you've got.
Did you have to travel far to reach these vortex or images?
When in my meditation state of mind,
this is your meditation.
If they actually came physically and took me, then it wasn't as hard for me to go to these places. They kind of would have just mirror out what I was seeing, and I'd be able to see things from the window of the spaceship.
So the ET would appear randomly without warning?
Yeah, I have an extraterrestrial friend that comes to me regularly. His name is Muriel, and he was somebody that was very much connected to me up there. And he's now down here as a protector and a watcher. So
and you feel safe with him?
He's learned me a lot of this stuff, and he's gave me visions and things to be able to see. I've had weird encounters, like how they breed their alien children. Some of the alien children are breeded in water, and they grow underneath the water and things like that. Then they showed me a table to do with them as well, which is the divine table that they would use.
Did you not have a dream or something as well, where you seen the ship coming up out the ocean? Remember?
There was there was this. That's what this was, because I remembered saying to them about that I was I could see mountains and I could see hills and I see a ship come up. It was similar to this, and I remember being in the water and the ship. I could see this light from underneath, and I wasn't sure what it was at first. But obviously, as it was starting to come up and it come out the water, you could see the top of it. You could tell it was huge. It was massive. You could tell it was a UFO. It weren't anything else, and it was under. It obviously come from under the water and come to the top of the surface. And then I remember waking up every single time at that. But then I had a next dream of it. But this time it wasn't under the water. It was on top of the water, and I could see myself looking at this ship. And it was showing me things that were connected to it. And it was saying about, I was picking up that they have hideouts under the water, which is why you see the ships going in the water, and that they've got special civilities underneath, like where they live, where people can't find, like in the deepest depths. And that's what this was linked to.
I've heard of this as a suggestion before, that aliens have been here a long, long while.
They have, yeah. And then
they have bases underwater.
And then obviously I started seeing ships. I started seeing, I'll show you the sister ship in a minute, because that's huge. That took me about 3 or 4 hours.
Did you realise you had artistic skills before your encounters?
No, I'm not very good at drawing. So this was really weird that I had it this good, because I'm normally somebody that would draw stick men, because I'm just really crap at drawing. But I got
So this is almost like a
planet,
message that you've
like a
been
star
given
system, and
with
that's
an
a part of our
ability
planet.
Yep.
to draw
Right.
these things.
And then we had the symbol that's meant to symbolise my planet, which is here. The clothing, very Greek looking, but
Can we
not
get a
Greek
little bit
looking.
closer on that one, please? Just see. And at the top, is that a head or a headdress, please?
Yeah, like you've got the face here, and then they had like a head thing over them. Like when they had certain dress ways. If they were in their own home place, they would just walk around in their jumpsuits and things like that they would have, and they'd be very casual. But when they visit this world, because of our world being the way that it is, they would have camouflage, which is those hats and the oversuits, because they would be able to camouflage themselves so they can't be seen here. That's why you can't ever see them half the time. So, but that's the clothing. And then I was like, right, okay, now, like, you're showing me this, but can you show me, like, your signs and stuff? So then they started showing me symbols.
Ooh.
What I find interesting is Sherry's dyslexic. She won't mind me
I'm
sharing that. She
dyslexic as
said
well,
it
yeah.
and when she's channeling that
Interestingly,
type of
Sherry,
it's
that symbol on the
great
top
line.
there, that symbol on the very top in the middle.
And then, I don't know what this is, but I think they were trying to give me the DNA between human and alien and how we actually became the way we were. Because it's very much been said to me that we were, like, a lot of people believe that we were formed by God. But a lot of people believe that God God and all the divine powers are in fact extraterrestrial. They're higher divine power. So
Yeah.
I believe that we were messed with when we were first formed, and it would have been by some of the extra. Like now, they showed me some sort of DNA link. I tried to draw it the best that I could. It's really
How
weird.
intriguing.
And then I said, right, look, show me the ships. So they showed me some like basic ships.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can't draw to save my life. You'll never ever see me draw, but
So much.
So you had to sort of, after your encounter, had to sort of put them straight onto paper.
well, what
It
I'd
was
do is
almost
I'd be in my
compelled to
meditation
do it.
state, they'd take me over, and I would actually sit there and start drawing this, not even with it. I wasn't with it when I was drawing this stuff. I was just
And it is recorded as well.
I
There is
go into my
footage.
own zone, and I just start seeing this vision in my eye, and I'm just drawing it. Then the cabins that they're in, that they sleep in to like be able to breathe.
So they're like a
things
pod.
that. Yeah, pods. Yeah, and then
That gave me a full body chill on that one.
Now that's intriguing. I mean, some of these look like they're similar to ancient designs, even Mason's
Celestial and
marks.
ETs are known are said to be very linked to like Egyptian time, and that's when they first started to be discovered. Around those times would have been around the Egyptian and ACD sort of times. That's why would you see like these native people that lived all these thousands of years ago. Have you ever noticed that they on the walls they do drawings of beings with spaceships, and at that time there was nothing that flied, but they were able to know about this. You know, they've
Yes,
been
I
around for a
mean
long
they
time.
can. We've
This
got to
is
be a
my
bit
sister
careful with
ship.
it because they could be unusual
That's the
depictions of
sister ship that
insects or
I drew.
animals. But people like Raymond Drake were expounding the ancient alien theory from the 1960s. Before Eric von Daniken produced the Chariots of the Gods.
And that's the sister ship I see. Obviously, I can't draw how big it was on it, but it was huge. That was the sister ship. It was in like 3 or 4 levels, but I was trying to get the levels in, but that's how it looked.
And you've no training in artwork?
No. I've never been very good at artwork. I like artwork, like painting and things like that, but I'm not somebody that can put a picture together. And I've never been very good at the drawing and stuff. And obviously the writing side of it as well. I'm dyslexic. I can't spell or read properly. So
it's all tidy.
Yeah.
It's always it's so strange. We need to do another show on it, guys. All the alien stuff and the UFO
I think you're
stuff.
absolutely right. Drew, I think, I mean, there's an awful
And I
lot of
showed all
research.
of this. Like, I showed all of this on certain channels, and that's when people started to question
A lot of it's
my
recorded as well.
legitness. And I'm not being funny.
Yeah.
I've got no reason to sit here and crap
I
and lie
think
to everybody
you
about what I
should,
do. You know what I mean? Like,
Sherry, I think you should photograph those and share them with a friend that you really trust in case one day you lose those albums or something goes wrong or whatever. They're so precious, that they
Yeah.
are a fascinating document.
I will. I
Yeah.
probably will do that, and I'll probably send them to like Sister Drew and Sister Mystical and see if they'll put them in a file or
I,
something, just so that if
I
anything happens to
Yeah.
my laptop, I don't lose it. But I've got
put
it
them
in
in
my
a
book
hard
anyway, and
drive.
these will be going
Seriously.
everywhere with me. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
this
got
is all
plenty of
really
Sherry. I got plenty of safes I can put them in.
yeah.
Yeah.
It costs nothing to send a nice little set of files through there, and it means you've got a copy too, Sherry. I think it's important.
Like I said, like I very much still speak to them and that, but I've kind of stopped that side of the communication at the moment because I felt so like let down and so upset when people did what they did to me. I thought, I'm not ever going to speak about it again because it's so hard to talk about that and things. And I showed you so much, I let you into so much, I trusted you, and then they do that. But
Well, never let
I
them
feel
grind you
comfortable again
down.
now.
It's a case of you just got to put your head up, march on, and I think you're incredibly strong, and just keep being you,
Mm-hmm.
and
So,
just
your truth.
it's your truth.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt anybody. It ain't for money. It ain't for gain.
I don't want money. I don't want fame from any of it. I don't do any of this for
It's
money. I do it because it's my love and my passion and it's my belief. That's the only reason I do it. I like to help people.
Don't let anybody change that, Sherry.
No.
Don't let them change it, please.
They won't ever change me, believe me.
I hope not.
It's trying to get
It's
people
all
to
right.
understand it all as well. It's for a learning other people that these things do happen, guys. They're
I've
not.
got to be honest. I think
You know.
reaching out, and I don't think you're alone, Sherry, either. I
Oh,
really
she's
don't.
definitely not alone.
I've
No.
Oh
certainly
no.
encountered
Like I've got a
people.
lot of people that believe in me. I have got a lot of people that believe in me, but you just have those few that really hurt you because they're the people you trusted the most.
It's a tiny
You know what I mean?
minority, and I tell you what, they are the ones that really can hurt. But do you know, you just got to kind of.
Well, that's what I've done. I
You've got to
rose above
squash
it.
it
I thought I'm just
and-
kind of carry on, and like I said, I've kept myself quiet over my UFO stuff for a while. But you speaking because Sister Mystical asked you about UFOs, and it's kind of just brought me out to speak about it again, and I feel good doing it again.
glad.
So I have been.
Yeah.
Part of who you are.
But see,
Yes.
because I've seen an alien, well, 2 times. One in my bedroom, a long time ago, like several of them around, and then another one, the house that's in the back that Sherry and Drew know about
Yeah.
the big whirling spirit that's bigger than the house. I caught on
The spirit.
a camera. Yes, and okay, so and then that was there, and then another time, it was my trail camera caught it, and it was just a picture, and it was standing in the same place that big swirling thing was. It was just a different time, and it caught it,
Crazy.
but its head was bigger than like anything you've seen on TV. Way bigger. Its eyes were bigger. There was like no hair, no features whatsoever, and the body was actually smaller than what you would see on TV. And the trail camera caught the picture, so I just have the picture.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got
But it is really amazing when you
as
get
well,
that.
didn't you?
Wow.
It is
What
amazing
about
when
you,
get
Drew?
evidence
Have
on
you
that.
have you had an
never really had
experience?
any. No, I have never really had any UFO experiences. I've seen a couple of strange things in the sky. Looking back, I think, yeah, that was strange, but not that I know of. I've never had anything really UFO.
Well, if
Yeah,
if I put it this way, because I'll have to sign off soon, my darlings.
yeah,
But
me as well.
what I'll say is this: I've
Excuse me.
spoken now to all sorts of people, really good if you're a pilot and you see things that are weird in the sky and you report it, you can get into all sorts of bother. It puts your job in jeopardy. which is why a lot of these guys, when they retire as pilots or navigator and various crew, they'll tell their stories then. And I can assure, and some of them, they still want to remain anonymous.
And I can understand it. I can.
You know, and there's it's
at
the
the same time,
same
it'd be good to know more about them.
with air traffic controllers, radar operators. I mean, that's a highly skilled job, which, if they're in the military, is often involving secret material as well. You know, it's highly secret, but I can assure you, I've spoken to some of them just said, I've seen things that the latest technology cannot explain.
Exactly.
And I can assure you, these are very good professional people.
There was something that happened recently, wasn't there? I can't remember what the name of the place was, but it was in the USA. And Sister Drew had said to me about it, and I hadn't actually seen it. And there was this family, and there was this teenage young lad that they were meant to have experienced a green light coming from the sky, and then they see these 8-10 foot beings in the back of their garden. And the police weren't going to take it seriously, but because one of the sergeants were out previously too, that they actually see this green object itself, one of the sergeants, so they took it serious and they went to the person's house. But even with that, people are now trying to say it was a meteorite, and I'm not being funny. A meteorite or whatever it is that's meant to come from the sky, wouldn't you see that all over the world? Why would you only see it in one place? It's part of the sky. Everybody would see it in every country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's daylight or nighttime or whatever. So that's what I mean by governments like to cover things up and try and make it to be something it's not. But the fact is, they're coming back. They're coming here because we're destroying our planet, and they're trying to save us. Okay, they are. That's why they're here. They're linked to this place as well. They used to live here. They used to help ourselves here. You know what I mean? They are linked here. So when people say like, why would they come here? Because this is their home as well. Because they are linked to this. We are all one massive universe, and what one part of the universe does, the other part of the universe will be affected.
I believe they were here before we were here, and they brought us here.
They are the ones that educated us and learned us and even formed us, to become who we were.
That's why the difference in the DNA, Sherry's got.
Yeah, but we've all got an ET DNA.
I meant your picture. I meant the picture that you have, the difference in the DNA.
That might be linked to.
Well,
guys, remember I'm going to link all Neil's books into. I'm going to give all Neil's books descriptions and links to Mystical to put in the about section after this video. So please remember and check out all Neil's books. They're amazing, guys. I'm going to read some of them as well.
Okay.
Definitely check them out.
Thank you very much. I hope you'll all enjoy those. But I must hit the sack now, my darlings, because it's.
Yeah, we would keep you here all night.
We must do it again. All I'll say to all the listeners, thank you for listening. Thank you, sisters, for inviting me on.
Thank you for coming on.
And may the gods and faith go with you. God bless you.
Thank you, Neil.
Take care, my darlings.
Thank you, Neil. Bye, everybody. Thank you for coming in.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, we're going to end it. Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Remember, check out the live over the weekend and things. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Love you all. Maybe love and light.
Oh, sorry.